crushing it. Action. Hello, welcome back. It's Megan. I didn't say that last in the first take, but welcome back to I Have Shit to Say. This is episode, I don't know, whatever. Because who knows what order we're filming them in. And I have some new guests with me today, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I have Katie and Jay Fillmore, right?
Hello.
Yeah,
thanks for having us today.
Yes. Podcasters extraordinaires.
I don't know, extraordinaire might be a little...
I will also say you are my second guest that are not therapists.
Oh.
So I appreciate that. And my first couple on the couch. So I had a Becca and a Barbie. So we had the two Bs on the couch. So now you get to be the couple on the couch.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. Yeah. So we are a couple. We've been
Yes.
married almost 8
that
years.
would help
Yes.
Yeah, almost 8 years. And yeah, my name's Katie, and we do have a podcast called Pinkpill Rx where we discuss feminist issues, a lot of history around feminism and things that have happened to women throughout history.
Yeah.
And he's a trooper because he hangs out with me and we discuss it.
I love that.
We do.
And we'll link it in the show notes.
I have a lot of reactions to brand new information I've never learned before.
Wait, but pause. Okay, I'm gonna ask a really ridiculous. Do you guys ever watch any of the ridiculous videos of like showing men how tampons work for the first time?
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if I have.
Yes,
Okay.
I've made him watch a video of an IUD being inserted because
Oh.
he wasn't.
Oh, that was on an episode too.
That was on an episode,
Yeah.
yes, and he was.
Oh, let's for sure, Brian, link that episode because I'm here for that.
Yes,
Some
that was,
education for anyone out there.
I get I can't handle medical stuff in general, so I was.
You don't get any anesthesia for that shit.
Oh yeah, that we were talking about that. That's unbelievable.
And then they're just like, drive yourself home.
Right.
Take some ibuprofen before.
Yeah, take ibuprofen.
This feels like a great
Can you
follow-up from our
imagine-
postnatal mental health.
Can you imagine if a man had to do that routinely?
I mean, I can't imagine being a man, but yeah.
Yes, no, but there would be no anesthesia. Like that would not go. That would not fly. It just would not.
It
No.
would not. No, it would not.
So, anyways, off topic a little bit here, but yes,
No, but
that's
very
it.
on
That's
topic.
the essence
on
of the
brand-
show.
That
on
is the
brand,
essence of the show.
On
the
brand.
essence, yes.
That is the essence.
Yeah, and I'm Jay.
What? Anything else you want to
Oh.
share? Like, I'm Jay. I'm here.
Oh, I mean, I do. We do our podcast together. We have 4 kids together. We live locally, and I taught high school for 8 years,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. And then I moved into real estate around COVID time. And
Okay.
have a lot more time with my family. And but I like creative stuff a lot. Like the podcast has been a lot of fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's currently in school.
Oh yeah, I'm actually in school. Yeah, thank you for that.
For?
Yeah, I'm getting a master's in theology right now
Okay.
because I
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
because that's always been like a passion of mine.
Okay.
And when I don't get the answers that I feel like are sufficient from the church, what left is there to do but to go to graduate school for it.
As one does.
I appreciate that. That's the
So,
response.
yeah,
So, like,
I mean,
well, when
yeah.
I don't, the church doesn't answer. I just go to school.
Yeah, I'll just get it myself.
I love that.
So that's where Deconstruction has actually taken me to my graduate program.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Which is why we'll do a solo episode with you.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about cults, deconstruction, all that good
Yeah,
jazz.
that'd be fun.
I love that. So, but before we jump into serious topics, we always like to start with a fun question. Now I'm like changing my fun question. So we were talking about Zanga and AOL Instant Messenger and MySpace. I didn't really throw this out there, Brian, but like, you want to share your like username of one of those platforms?
Oh yeah. AOL Instant Messenger. My name was My Night, like KNIGHT 300 was it, and it's a long story.
I feel like there's a lot there.
It is. It's a long story.
This feels like the new like TikTok song that's like "Come Be the Man I Need" a little bit.
Yes.
Like,
No, it kind of was. That was the vibe.
Okay.
Actually, that sums it up. Yes, it was. I was very focused on getting an MRS degree early on in life, unfortunately, due to my upbringing.
As a lot of women are.
Yes,
right? Okay.
So definitely had those vibes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was yours?
I changed mine like 3 times because I was so concerned with like fitting in
Okay.
and being cool.
Okay.
And I was in 8th grade, and all these people were in high school. So my first one, I think, I don't even know if you remember this. It might have been my email, which was...
Wait, did you guys know each other back then?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, lots of Zanga-ing
Okay.
back and forth.
Oh.
AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
We have our
So
foundation
this is the
of our
really your
relationship.
night right here.
Yes,
on our
he
couch.
did, yes.
Oh.
And he
Oh, yeah.
wanted to be.
I was obsessed
so.
with her. Obsessed for years in high school and middle school.
Okay, I love all of this, but we haven't got to the username.
No, we
yet.
haven't. I think my first one was my email at the time, which was psychodude88.
Oh, not the way to be somebody's night,
No.
but
No,
okay.
and I
okay.
changed it. I had a cat named Tiger. I don't know how his nickname became Joe Man. So I was Joe Man J, I think I was.
Tell him the crown jewel. The crown jewel username.
Oh. I thought I was going to skirt by this.
I know, I was like, what was the one you were thinking that you didn't want to say out loud? Is it that one?
No, it's
Oh.
not. It was the Zanga one, my first Zanga name.
Okay.
The second one I liked. First one was Dumb Dog, DAWG 13.
Dumb 13.
That was my...
I'm sensing a theme.
He really
I
wanted
wanted to be cool so bad and
And
fit in with
hip,
people. I got bullied a lot in middle school, so I was thirsty for acceptance.
I appreciate the use of thirsty.
Not the typical use, but you
Yeah.
know.
No, I'm
You know
here
what?
for
It
it.
serves its purpose in this area.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, throwing it back to you. Do you know any of those usernames or your dial-up, AOL Instant Messenger, or...
I think it was pretty lame. It was just like BT Prairie or something. It was something just my name.
That's-
I didn't.
You didn't
I
care.
I didn't really. I
down,
didn't,
down to the point.
Yeah, it
You
was.
know,
It was
you're
just
like-
like I was like, when I was. I think what it was more was like. I didn't want it to be as anonymous as everybody else wanted. I was like,
Oh,
Ah,
fair.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
BT Prairie, or yeah, whatever.
So the opposite of Jay. You were
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Brian.
You know,
you
it's
were
just-
also probably a little older when that was
Yes.
a thing,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
were like, I'm over that shit.
I'm over it. Yeah. So
My family only had a box computer in our like living room kitchen area, so it faced out so everybody could see. So you
Yeah.
couldn't be doing anything shady ever. But mine was just Maggie Lou 21.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
okay.
even anything fancy, anything sketchy.
Yeah.
But it was just like I can't have a weird name or like
No.
I can't be messaging
Oh.
people or vlogging
That's
or.
true.
Do you remember
Yeah.
away messages though? Those were dramatic too.
I
Yeah.
do, but but because I had sisters, and like
Yeah.
it's not like you could really like leave an away
And
message.
it was very public, so
Yeah.
you know, you couldn't be that way.
You'd send a message with an away message to some people passively.
I also don't know that I gave a fuck back then either.
Yeah.
I still don't.
That's
so
fine.
this is also how I end up with finger guns in the first episode that
Right.
Brian just edited. So yep, you're right. What do you said? Pew 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 to all
Yeah,
the camera.
take the cameras out first.
I love that. I love that. Well, so lots of topics we could cover, and I haven't even really specifically picked one, if I'm being honest, because there's such cool topics that we could talk about. But I am intrigued if you're open to talking about it, and maybe I should have asked you ahead of time. But you know, like every good experiment, you don't give them a heads up. Is like what it's like to like you guys have been on your own therapy journey. Like you've done therapy, you're interested in IFS and all that good stuff. But I'm curious if like you were even talking about watching a show about couples therapy and like what is it like to be on the other side of the couch?
Oh, that's a cool phrase.
And maybe like why yeah, whatever you want to share about your therapy journey. It will take us other places.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a good start.
Because therapy's a wild thing.
Yeah, it is a wild thing. I have been in therapy for a very long
I
time.
was about to be like, I'm sorry I just outed you for going to therapy. Maybe I should have asked that, but
Because really got into therapy. I was married before, and
Same.
that started crumbling.
Okay.
And with that, my whole like ideology of life started crumbling with it because I was very, very religious at the time, and so when that started going down, that was like the worst thing you could do would be like get a divorce or something like that.
oh,
So
100%. I mean, we could
needed-
talk about that all day.
I needed some help, some professional support, and so
But interesting that you didn't turn to the church for that.
yeah, well, I think I had in my own way like done that, and it was very much a you need to pray more, you need to basically that was like it. That was the messaging I was getting.
Have you read Glennon Doyle's most recent? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but I've not read
Oh my
it.
God, what's her book? Whatever, we'll link it or Brian can put it up above my head, but it's basically like her kind of memoir about her love story with Abby Wambach, because she was married in a heterosexual marriage previously. But I had to stop reading. Sorry, Glennon, I do love you, but I had to stop reading the chapter where her therapist, she was like going to therapy for like her marriage, and he had been cheating on her, and her therapist basically was like, maybe you should suck his dick more. Like, basically, because she was like, I'm not feeling connected sexually. I'm sorry.
No,
we're just jumping into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I can't read any more of this. I was like, therapists are not always the best either.
No, I wasn't
So-
huge. I mean, I started going to therapy individually while I was still married to him, because everything, you know, he was basically telling me everything was my fault. So obviously I need to go get fixed because everything's my fault, right?
That's what we need to go talk
So-
about in your podcast.
Yeah, so I go to therapy, right? And
Yeah.
so she hung out, you know, through, I went to her probably for a year before I actually got a divorce. And, you know, it was just the same thing over and over again, the same stories, the same whatever, no matter what I did and how I adjusted myself. And so one day she was finally like, listen, in the nicest, most, you know, professional way she could. It was like, hey,
What the fuck are you doing?
basically,
it's like not a you problem.
Here's the reality. We see that you've made all these adjustments. Nothing has changed. Your reality is this. Is this something that you're willing to continue to do? Like, this is just, it's either that or you have to make a different choice.
Right.
And so that was mind-blowing to me, you know. But that was my dipping into therapy for kind of one of the first
Like
times.
the beginning part.
Yes,
Yeah.
beginning times. And we did go to couples therapy, and it was terrible. It was awful. I still felt like everything was my fault. So I had done a lot of talk therapy.
Yeah.
Long story short. And then after I got a divorce, I was in talk therapy a lot. But that kind of like ran, I'm calling it talk therapy. I don't know what the technical term is, but
That's a really
It
great
was-
layman's term for therapy, where you sit on the couch and you talk.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, so they might have been doing cognitive behavioral therapy. They might have been doing, you know, they
Yeah.
pull from all the things. But
yeah. So I did that for a long time, and that kind of ran its course, and I was feeling like I wasn't getting what I needed out of it. Like, I had gotten to the point where I was intellectualizing a lot,
Yeah.
and
you knew all the
don't
things.
want to say I knew all the answers, but it was like, I mean, after
Well,
you
you
go for 5
You
years,
knew the path, right? Like,
Right.
you're like, well, I know where this is going. I know we're going to talk about the
Yeah.
feeling about this thing, and we're going to process this thing, and we're going to, but
Yeah.
like,
and so then that's
hurt
when
is deeper than that.
that's when I started discovering somatic therapy and like parts work and IFS, internal family systems and stuff. And that was life-changing for me.
Yeah, and so for our audience, she's talking about like body-based.
Yes.
Right? Like, so kind of talk therapy is more kind of that like brain-based.
Yeah, I've
like
heard it
cognitive.
described like head down versus bottom up therapy.
Yeah, and bottom up would be, well, yeah, right? Like old school used to think that, and maybe when you started therapy, this was still the ideology, is that your brain, your mind, and your body were separate. And that's kind of only a newer thing in the field. I would say maybe in the last 50, 60 years, not that you were getting it, but like, right, we're also in a smaller town, so newer things trickle down
Right.
way later.
Yes.
way later. So, but yeah, like body-based stuff.
So I got introduced to that, and that was, and I also in that process ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and so that was totally life-changing too. But that was part of kind of the process. They didn't diagnose me with it, but they kind of helped me,
like steered you in
like,
the right
hey,
direction.
maybe you should get
Maybe
evaluated.
there's some like
for-
neurodivergent
There's
stuff
some
happening.
stuff going on here that is deeper and biological beyond just
And maybe not even deeper, maybe right
Yeah.
there on the surface, but
Yeah.
not maybe labeled correctly. I hate
Yeah.
that terminology, but I have a therapist who calls it neurospicy.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I feel that.
Right? Like it's not just the bland salt and pepper.
Uh-huh.
You're a little spicy.
Yeah. So that was my journey, or where I'm at now. So I'm currently in IFS, like kind of base therapy,
Okay.
somatic therapy, and I've been doing that for a while, probably like a year and a half now.
Yeah, almost 2 probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Close to 2.
Okay.
I probably should be retiring, honestly, but
About to get
I
your
do love
associates.
it. I do love it. Yeah.
But I guess that's a great question, is like, right? Like, when is therapy enough? When is there enough therapy? When is it time to leave? When is it time to move on? When is it time to continue? And like, maybe even from the other side of the couch, right? Like, it's fine for a therapist to talk about that. But like, as a client, I mean, and I'm a client as well, so I think about these things all the time of like, when have I outgrown this person, or when are we stuck, or when am I not being fully honest, or I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I
You guys
feel
have
like
thoughts about
recently
that?
I've kind of hit a wall, and I'm trying to decide if that's something that I need to like push through, kind of thing, or if it's a sign that
Well, is it your wall or their wall?
I'm not certain for that. I need to have an honest, I think, transparent conversation, which kind of makes me nervous for some reason, but with my
Well,
counselor.
yeah, because that kind of sucks to have to do it on the other side of the couch.
Yeah, so I need to probably have that conversation. But I love my therapist. That's the thing.
But see,
I
that's
don't
the
wanna
problem,
break up.
right? That's
Don't
the
break up
problem.
with me.
Well, you've cut back too, because it used to be. you
I
were
used to
going
go
more
every
frequently.
week, but now
Okay.
I'm every other week. Yeah.
Because I don't know when to, not call it quits, but I've been with my therapist for about a year and a half, and I was going weekly, and then I just this summer went down to every other week, and oddly enough, there's a correlation at that time where I've noticed the most like growth just in my daily life from therapy while I've been on every other week, because I was kind of feeling like I'm not getting the same type of like breakthroughs, I guess, as frequently anymore, and I'm noticing that like the areas in my life that I was feeling very dysregulated regarding are feeling a lot more regulated. I'm noticing positive differences, so I think I'm going to try going down to every other week. And then when I did, it ended up being the right move for me, just because it's kind of what felt right.
And then you had more time to practice all the stuff,
Yeah,
right?
right, and
Like,
that's been wonderful.
yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it is hard to know, especially if
Yeah.
you like, because it's relational based.
Yes,
Yeah.
love my therapist.
And we have built good relationships with our therapists. And I do think sometimes like every week it doesn't give you enough time to practice because it just stirs up new things kind of every week,
Sometimes,
you know?
right? Or it just ends up being like, I'm going to just tell you all the shit for my week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially if you're doing talk therapy.
Right, true.
So, somatic, not necessarily maybe as much, but yeah.
oh, I love somatic therapy so much.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh.
I kind of drug him into it. Because I was trying to explain to him, it sounded so woo-woo and crazy. Like
Yeah.
Oh, it's
internal
very
family
woo-woo.
system.
Yeah.
So I'm an art therapist by trade, which is
Okay.
already very somatic based work, right? And I
Sure.
would say it's probably the OG of somatic work. My like yoga and like dance movement would probably be even more OG than that. And then you have some of this other stuff that's coming out that's related to like mindfulness and IFS work and that kind of stuff that's more kind of like trauma informed, that people have branched off and done pieces. But it is it's very woo woo. Like it's
Very.
very like you have to be willing to like, oh, we're not gonna just talk about my week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do some weird stuff.
Yes, and it doesn't seem like it should work to me. Like it seems like it's a lot of like in your
But is that this
thinking,
talking or is that
imaginative-
this talking?
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that like when you hear about it, it's like, okay, so that just doesn't seem like that would make a huge, but it was a huge
Yeah.
difference, and it was not even something that I was consciously thinking about throughout the week after my therapy sessions, but I was still seeing effects of it throughout my
Yeah.
week. So it seemed like this just seems weird how it works.
It's like it works in the background all the time. Like when you're doing something that's somatic and more with your body. Would you say it's like it's kind of your subconscious running this in the background, and you're not even thinking about what you talked about? At least for me, in
That's
therapy,
been my
right?
experience with that particular therapy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you notice how it permeates your life afterwards without even thinking about it, which is really, really neat. But the way you explained to me IFS the first time, I was like, what?
So I made
Is
him
this?
listen. I had No Bad Parts, the book No Bad Parts, right?
Okay.
On audiobook, and so he does some practices in
Yes.
there, and so I let him listen to one of them because me explaining it was not
Right.
cutting it. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
had
it
him
didn't make
listen and
sense.
do it, and he was like, "What is this
Yeah.
witchcraft?"
Yeah, woo woo.
Yeah. But then I listened to that chapter and I was like, you know what? Let me try this exercise he's given. And I tried this exercise, and like no joking, like I encountered a part in this brief exercise and I was like,
You're like, okay, let's do this.
I need this. I need to find a therapist that does this.
Psycho Boy.
No.
No. That's a part right there. Right?
Oh yeah, that's
a lot of people.
I've talked to that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I've got parts that have different. Like I have a part who's a cartoon character off of Ed, Edd and Eddie, which is so random. But most of the parts are just me. But I realized, oh, this is what I want to try doing because I'd done talk therapy too, and I had a great therapist for it. But it wasn't giving me the emotional regulation or I just wasn't able to enjoy my life, and I wanted to enjoy my life, and I knew that didn't work, and this made me feel really hopeful about it.
Right.
And it's done wonders since then because I've been so disconnected from my body, like my entire life. Emotions have felt like a very scary thing, not knowing how to deal with them. They feel too big and too chaotic. And so I've kind of just disassociated from the feelings in my body and over-intellectualized a lot of things.
Yeah.
But getting more connected with my body again has done wonders. And I wonder if that's similar for a lot of, I mean, I'm not a therapist, but if that's similar for a lot of men who maybe we get more disconnected from our emotions.
I don't think you have to be a therapist to know some of those things,
I guess
right? I think the majority of our world lives on autopilot, right? Of just going through the motions, doing the things.
Yeah. No, that's true. And not always noticing or paying attention to what our feelings show up like in our body.
Well, and I think the biggest precursor is just being everything's fine. I'm good. I'm fine. I think I read a quote one time that was fine is the quickest way to disconnect your head from your body, right? Because you don't feel things in your head. You feel things in your body, right? Also, if you hear my child screaming in the background, I'm just going to shout. She's having a moment. But yeah, I mean, things aren't fine. The world is burning around us.
Yeah.
How can we be fine? Right? And so that's an autopilot thing for sure, is to just be let me intellectualize, let me make it okay for everybody else, but we're raised that way. And it's interesting, I have a therapist, a male therapist who works for us, and he talks all the time about men aren't the problem for men, women are the problem for men. And that's kind of paraphrasing it, but he's women are raising men. Women are making it not okay for men to be emotionally vulnerable. Women are teaching them to be rough and gruff and I don't necessarily think that that's the only thing that's happening, but I do think that's a really interesting thing to point out, and even kind of thinking about your feminist lens of things is where along the lines we as a society have where have we gone wrong in not teaching emotional intelligence, and now we're asking the schools to do it for us, and it's kind of a big fucked up system. I don't know. Thoughts, feelings.
All internalized patriarchy is what that is, and women.
But I was we perpetuate
women
it, right?
do too, and
we
it's
prop
harmful.
it up.
And the thing is patriarchy isn't a gender. It's not
boys
or men are bad.
No,
it's harmful to both men and women, and we both perpetuate the ideologies of it and don't even realize it, because you're right. We do want men to be more rough and tumble and more emotionally disconnected. Ultimately, is what that ends up producing.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely a result of.
Well, I don't know. Have you guys watched any of Brene Brown's TED Talks or anything like that? Yeah. She is the one where she talks about how most of her research originally was with women, and she had a man come up to her have you heard this part?
I don't think I have.
We can also link this here, but she basically was after a talk one time, a man came up to her and was you only research women, and she was well, yeah, that's what I'm doing, and he's shame shows up differently for men. I'm not ashamed of the things that are happening, but when I fall off my white horse, my wife can't handle that. My daughters can't handle that. When I'm not the knight, when I'm not Mr. Knight, right? That, they can't handle that. And so, I have to just get back up. I have to pretend I never fell off. I have to, right? That's why we hear stories about men who lose jobs and don't tell their wives and go to the coffee shop in the suits, or, right, to figure out the next move. Or it is an interesting, we're all contributing to this disassociation.
Yeah. It feels like sometimes you're not allowed to break or feel broken or to show that, even if you want to.
Right.
We had a good guest on our podcast. Our only male, no, we have had two, but our first male guest on our podcast, talking about the differences between men and women. And he made an interesting point about the patriarchy and stuff, that like you have most school teachers in elementary school are women, and most boys spend more time with their mothers and their fathers when they're children. And so the image that they're getting, or the example that they're getting of how to demonstrate emotions or be emotional, is all based on a female paradigm. And so not having a male elementary teacher or a father or an uncle or somebody who can demonstrate what it looks like for a man to emote and for a man to do that, then they don't see something that works for them. And so there's no outlet that's exemplified or taught. And then so we don't know how, like the boy version, to be able to get our emotions out healthily and things like that.
Other than what you're being told by these women.
Yes.
Right?
But,
like there's not a model, there's just a directive.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not a directive that works with our makeup a lot of the time.
Right. Whereas like even computes in the same way, right? Like when you're that young, you learn through modeling, not by talking.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you learn. And so it's also then like, well, okay, do you just like look around to the other 2-year-old boys?
Right. That's not a good example.
It's not great,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so it's an interesting, and I will say, like, owning a group practice, the majority of people who come to therapy are women, and the majority of people, male and female, that are asking for therapists are asking for women, including the men, which I think is really interesting. So I have 2 male therapists on staff, 2 very different ways of practicing, ways of working, and people are like, nope, I'm good. No, thank you. I don't. And like, we're like, try them out. We really think that they would benefit you. And they're like, no, I'm good. I would rather a woman. And so it's even like what they're seeking for themselves is even interesting.
I wonder if, I mean, do you think it could be that men feel self-conscious being emotional from another man?
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. There's that happening, and then so even when I supervise them, they also say the other thing that comes up, and even the female therapists that are seeing men, they're saying that they're coming seeking a female perspective about something that's happening in their life. Like, I don't understand women, or I don't understand my wife, and maybe you can give me a different perspective, or maybe you can help me do what my wife wants. Like, same as you saying I needed to go to therapy to fix myself for my partner the first time around, is like we're also seeing men coming saying, my wife says I'm fucked up for all intents and purposes, so I need a woman to tell me what I need to do to fix me. Like, a man's not going to fix me for my woman, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like, well, this therapist woman's not going to know how to do that either, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a really interesting kind, you know, and that's just kind of what we're experiencing in our practice. That doesn't necessarily mean it's, you know, universal per se, but I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, more men definitely are seeking treatment.
That's great
for us. Yeah, right. And so it is like, how do we make it safe for men to sit on the other side of the couch?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have an answer for that.
I mean, you know, it's interesting. You said that men have come seeking therapy to get fixed, and that's interesting because that's kind of a male perspective. Like, like for example, if you're telling me about a problem, I want to fix it. Yeah, it's our natural thing. But I didn't go to therapy. I mean, I personally didn't go to therapy because I wanted to be fixed. I went to it because I wanted to be able to enjoy my life, and I didn't feel like I could. And it's interesting that
you also had a supportive partner who had been doing therapy.
That is very
like not
true.
to be
to
like out you in this really loving
right.
like beautiful thing, right? Like is like you also had a partner that wasn't saying you were the problem and who was also modeling what it looked like to go to therapy and work on herself, right? And I think that is always interesting when we're having a huge influx of people coming in. And they really need couples counseling, right? But their partner won't come. So they're like, well, I'm here, and I'm going to do this work on my relationship, but I'm only one of the two.
Gosh, that is so hard when that is the thing. Where you're the one going to therapy.
Well, and there
the
is...
other person isn't growing at that same rate.
or at all.
Yeah.
If they were growing, there's a little hope there.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Right?
Yes,
like,
but usually it's not.
if they're
It's
a rock and you're like moving further,
Yeah.
right? The only option is for the rock to pull you back or for you to grow out of their sphere.
I definitely experienced that. That is a good analogy for that.
I mean, a rock is maybe not the nicest, but that's not gender specific, because I will say we have men that come in that way and also women that come in that way too.
Yeah.
But I think having a supportive partner or somebody who is modeling what it's like to go to therapy without forcing you to go to therapy makes you able to be like, oh, that could be cool.
Absolutely.
Because then it's your own journey of exploration, not like, I got this goal and I got to fix myself to stay in this marriage or to stay in this job or to stay in this. Because we also get people that are like court mandated or job mandated or, right, there's like this really specific, like, I'm fucked if I don't fix this.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure behind you trying to do personal work on yourself that's like genuine and authentic, to also have those external pressures.
Yeah, and then you're going into therapy in your sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
Because then you feel all this pressure about it, and that's immediately going to put you in a different state of mind. You know, you're not going to be...
Well.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's just going to be like, your head is going to just be a balloon that's floating up into the ether, right?
Yeah.
Like...
None of this.
Yeah, no, it's not body-centered at all. It's like, learn the answers, solve the problem, do the thing, and it'll last for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
And do it as quickly and as efficiently as I can.
Yeah.
So I can fix whatever problem this is supposed to solve.
Which in internal family systems kind of mode is really like, let me create a part that will manage all of this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me accept all of my parts that are present in me as well. Because I think there's a lot of...
But that would be the IFS work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really, ultimately, if you're coming in with this pressure, it's really like, let me make a firefighter, let me make a
Oh, yes. No, I get what you're saying.
cover
I
but yes. No, you're good. But
Yeah.
right, like, the goal of internal family systems, and we can link kind of there's some great, he was on the Huberman podcast, Richard Schwartz. And actually, did you know Richard Schwartz started his work down south in Onarga?
I did know that, actually. I don't think you knew
I didn't
that.
know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of his first
Cool.
internships, which is like, what, 45 minutes south of us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the residential.
No kidding.
That's where internal family systems was like birthed. So like
I feel good about where I live.
Is that cool?
You know?
Is that cool? Yeah. So that's like in our backyard that he was like doing that work when he started, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, is like that whole idea, and he talks about it a lot, is this idea of like non-pathologizing, meaning like there's not something clinically wrong with you, which I think also, I don't know if you guys have read any, and you might be interested in this work too, is John Kabat-Zinn. He does mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is also a very somatic kind of mindfulness. It's very woo-woo.
That stuff works.
It does, and so he's proven that it works too. So he wrote this book, Full Catastrophe Living, but in like the first chapter of the book, like he was doing it in the hospital setting, I think in UCLA, and he basically was given all these people with chronic pain, right? Which is like, you can't do anything. Chronic pain, right? Like there's not much you can do. And in a very kind of existential way, he was like, okay, you deal with all these doctors, you deal with all these providers, they're all worried about what's wrong with you. We're only going to spend time on what's right with you right now.
Oh.
It was radical.
Wow.
And then he studied it and tested it, right? And that's what it is, right? Is like there were huge changes because it was about like addressing like the body through mindfulness stuff, but also through this like very non-pathologizing, like if everybody's telling you something's wrong with you, it's kind of like it's kind of like that, like plants grow.
Just think of that.
Like plants grow when you say shitty, like really kind things to them, and then they die when you say shitty things to them. It's like the same thing, right? Like it's wild.
Yeah. Can I tell a quick?
Please.
So I was in a car accident when I was 17. And I broke my left ankle and had a lot of ligament damage. And so it's been in pain every day since the accident. Not like I ignore it and disassociate from it. And it's probably like, I mean, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 on a given day. Worse when it's cold out. But I did a I think it was my first somatic based session with my therapist. And it was we did it about the car accident.
Okay.
And how I wasn't taken care of like I should have been after medically, in several different ways. I mean, I had a traumatic brain injury and didn't get any follow-ups about
Oh my
it. So
gosh.
I lost 6 months of memory.
Okay.
That eventually came back, but it took a few days. And so we talked about the car accident, how I wasn't taken care of. And then we talked, it was about, what does my ankle need and taking care of it and things like that. And I'm not even joking. After this is going to sound so woo-woo. I promise this happened. I promise. But like after that, my pain in my ankle was reduced from then till now. I mean, it's 3 it's probably like a 2 or 3 now.
Yeah,
It probably was
yeah.
consistently a 4. But it's definitely gone down because I don't know what happened there. I don't know if trauma was stored in there.
But think about it, right? So like we all experience pain, but what we do with that pain in our mind is what causes suffering.
That hit for him. I could feel that.
But right, like
Yeah.
suffering is the story, pain is the physical sensation, right? So it's like when my daughter falls, I will admit this, yesterday she totally fell off the changing table, which was like I'm having my own panic and also trying not to panic, right? Like, and it was like I could lose my shit because I'm like, I'm a bad mom. And then I was like, okay, don't do that because like she needs to figure out how it feels for her. And I looked at her and she just kind of got up and she was like, ow. And I was like, ow, whoopsies. And she was like, like hug. And then she was fine. But I think if I was like, like freaking the fuck out, like she would have freaked the fuck out because like the story would have been different. Like we look for cues in our environment for the story. And if the cues in your environment were like you didn't get the treatment you need, like that all this shit was happening around it. It was already traumatic, and then there were all these other cues in your environment that cause more suffering. Like, we need different things to heal suffering than we do for pain. Right? Like, and I think that's an interesting thing because we don't, even as a society, think that mental health is that big of a deal, but it really is, right? Like, so I just recently read a study one of my therapists had sent to me, and they've proven basically that every emotion, good, bad, ugly, whatever you want to label them, only lasts 90 seconds unless you attach a story to it. Like, that's kind of fucked up, right?
Yeah.
To think about, like, oh my God, all the things that I, like, stressed about or all the, like, but it was, like, that was all, like, stories that I attached, right? And it doesn't have to necessarily live in your head. Like, those can start to live in your body, too.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, if I walk and my ankle starts to, like, wobble, I just be like, oh, it just wobbled. Or it could be like, oh my God, it's going out and I'm going to fall and I'm going to, right? Like, and then it, like, persists. Or then all of a sudden I baby it or I, like, walk different or I...
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Because you're just addressing what is actually happening in reality in the present versus using imagination and what could or what does that mean.
Yeah, right? There's all these different stories.
Yeah.
But, like, we all live in stories, like, 98% of the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, like, so there's this thing we're born with called private logic, where it's like, as soon as you're born, you start taking in information somatically, right? Like sight, taste, touch, sound, you have all your senses, and you're doing that in utero too, but, right, like, then when, right, like, whatever happens, you start to interpret. Like, this happens as soon as you're born, or I would say conceived probably, right? And then you create a belief from that, and then that belief causes a reaction. So, like, kids, if they are hungry, they might cry, and then I either get food or I don't get food. Well, is the world kind and supportive, or is the world hostile? And then I, like, move through life with that all the time until I address it.
Well, you just struck a lot of information. Very impactful there, Megan.
My bad. See, but I told you I have shit to say,
Yes.
right? Like,
No,
but
that
it
is
is interesting stuff because I will say it's like, much as I'm saying it for you, I'm like, oh yeah, that applies to me in the same way, right? Like, and I think that's an interesting thing as we're, like, talking about therapy is, like, I am always changed by the people that are sitting on the other side of my couch. Like, always.
That's interesting
Yeah.
hearing that from the person who sits on the other side of the couch.
Well, and I sit on both sides of the couch, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing an art therapist right now, and, like, it's funny because she's like, she's much younger than I am. She's like, are you gonna have a problem with me being younger? I'm like, oh my God, no. Like, I need to learn all the things. Like, keep me up to date. You know, and she brings stuff up that I'm like, you know, we're doing an interesting, and I can share this, we're doing some interesting art where I'm covering paper completely in like charcoal, like black charcoal. We're doing kind of Jungian work. And instead of like drawing an image, we're erasing to create an image. Oh. So we're like doing shadow work that way, which is really interesting.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
And the same thing, I have those, I'm like, I'm an art therapist and I believe in this work. I watch it happen. And then when it happens to me, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, right? Like these wild images come up and I'm like, that's not what I planned, right? Because it's not in my head. It's not me planning. It's like this thing that's just like emerging.
Yeah, and I think that was a difference for me between the talk therapy and the somatic therapy, is the difference between something emerging from the depths versus I know what I want to talk about today.
And I will say that's great starter therapy. That's like the gateway therapy is, right? Like the people that are like, I have my list, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do my thing. Like we have to go through that process and then we eventually like settle in and it's like, okay, now something's, like you can't necessarily go straight into it unless you've kind of already done some of that. And that doesn't even necessarily have to be therapy work. It can be self-help work, right? But like you kind of have to do the surface, like, let me do this. Let me learn this. Let me make the list to tell my therapist. And then the deeper work is that what emerges instead of what's happening in the week. If that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the talk therapy for me helped build trust and also to confide in somebody else and to be like transparent with somebody else.
Yeah, because on the surface, that's kind of a fucking wild thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna walk in on a blind date, basically.
Yes.
And you're gonna then expose the deepest parts of your soul to this wild person that you have no fucking clue about, and that they're not really ever gonna tell you that much about them, but you'll learn some things about them.
Yep.
But not anything really, right? Like it's kind of a
Put it that way, yeah.
it's
You're
a
right.
really fun system, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
I see my therapist telehealth, and I keep being like, I need to just like go in person. Like, I need to drive up to Chicago because I like have feelings about like how tall are you and what does your studio space look like, and I like want to be in your physical presence, and like, but then I'm like, would it ruin the like head in the box? I don't know, like.
Never see the same again.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird, right? But then I think about clients with me. Like, I'm like, oh, like, I've never seen you in real life. Like, you do virtual with me, or the ones that do see me in real life. Like, it is really interesting. But like, any therapist that doesn't think that they're changed by their clients, I mean, it's delusional. Like, you're delusional, right? I feel like, Brian, maybe we talked about this on another podcast. There's like a study about water, like ripples. Have we talked about this?
No, I don't think so.
Great. I just say shit to a lot of different people, and I never know if it's recorded or not.
If you've got it on record or not. Here we go.
So there's this also, I'm like really into the studies today is where I'm at. So there's a study of water, like, and the ripples that water creates and the patterns. And they found that when a scientist or an observer was present, not doing anything to the water, but present, that the pattern is different than when it was just like the instruments measuring and there was no observer.
It's kind of a double slit test.
Yeah.
Like,
It's exactly the same
Quantum
thing, right?
physics.
And so the idea that a therapist could sit on the couch and not be changed by, right? Like you're also a part of their work as much as they're a part of your work.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of wild.
That water thing's wild. Because it's like just your act of being in proximity in
We're
whatever
all,
energy you're giving off.
Yeah, we're all energy, right? Like, I don't know. So I do think it's a really interesting thing to think that I don't know, everybody thinks it's all science. It's all like cut and dry. It's all black and white. I'm like, no, it's an art.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's all an art form. I even tell people that about going to get medication with a psychiatrist. Like, it's as much an art as a science, right? It's like their background, their history, what meds they like to use for certain things, what things they've seen. But I even feel that way as a therapist. It's like, I'm going to bring up this thing because I think it applies in this way based on my training or education or experience or, I don't know.
Yeah.
You brought up a psychiatrist, and I struggled with explaining this to somebody the other day.
Oh, yes.
Of the difference, because they were picturing a psychiatrist, I think, being more like a counselor. But the difference between you seek a psychiatrist for this versus you seek a counselor for this.
Well, yeah, so that's like a good question. So a psychiatrist is a doctor. They like went to med school, they did all the rounds, all that stuff. But the way psychiatry works, and I will talk in the state of Illinois, but I would say probably in the United States, is like most of them are only going to see you for 15, 20 minutes unless you get a really good one who owns their own practice and has a little more time. But they're kind of going to churn you through, ask their questions about your sleeping, your eating, your assessments, your questionnaires. And then they're going to give you meds, up your dose, lower your dose, send you on your way for a few months, try it again.
Yeah, you're not like burying your soul in
No.
past traumas to this person.
No, but I would say if you're looking for somebody who does do medication management, and that's what I would say mostly psychiatrists do now. So in Illinois, we had a little bit of a shortage of psychiatrists, and I would say we still do, especially in our area, is a few years ago, probably more than a few, like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer, psychologists were given the right to have prescription privileges in Illinois. And so a psychologist has a 5-year psychology degree. They've taken boards and all that stuff. But they do your testing. Like, so when you were saying I went and got like psych testing done, that would either be from a neuropsych or from a psychologist. So they can do kind of those, like your Rorschach, your IQ, your MMPI, all those like exams. But if they have special certifications, they can also do prescription privileging, or like they have prescription privileges to prescribe. Okay. And so a psychologist in Illinois could potentially see you like for an hour for therapy and do med management at the same time.
Okay, so it's kind of a Venn diagram.
It is a little bit. And then you have like your counselors and your social workers.
Yes, that's more of we're sitting down and we're talking.
That's like your hour a week sessions.
Yes, right.
Yes, yeah.
That's a good way to explain it. Just wanted to
No, that's like
I was trying to
explain
how it's definitely more medical based on the psychiatry side, and
yes, and all of it is still an art.
Yes.
Right? Because all of them are still waiting for your personal report about how do I feel about my sleeping, how do I feel about my eating, how do I feel about my behavior, or if you're a child, I always tell parents, like, be really cautious about how you share your frustrations with your child if you're taking them for medication, because that's an interpretation of what's happening.
Yeah, that's been really difficult. We do have a child that's on medication, and it has been very difficult to be in that same room with the doctor and trying to explain symptoms and things like that without writing a story for her, essentially.
Right? Which is like, you still are. You're never gonna not.
Yeah. I want to write the best story I can, man. It's difficult because there's no handbook for this. There's no like, oh, this is how you do that, you know?
Well, a therapist could help you with that.
Yeah.
Right? So like, we write notes for doctors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I forgot to say that to my doctor, or I told them this and they didn't understand it the way that I meant it, that you understand it. It's like, oh, we'll just like write you a letter, like, so that when you're like, because it feels like I got 15 minutes, I gotta say all the shit to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're like, I didn't say that, and I didn't say this, or I didn't want to tell them this, or yeah.
No, actually, that's really good advice. The letter thing, so that I could give it to them versus
and even if it's you writing a letter, but or
say it,
like.
You know,
or having to make, even people will be like, okay, pull out your phone, let's make a list. Here's the things like I have questions about for you based on what we've talked about, but it's all relational and it's not all separate.
No, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. I think anytime you're doing practical science, there's an art to it.
Yeah, they wouldn't agree with that, but scientists don't want to believe that, right? Like, they call psychology soft science for that reason.
Well, I mean,
I don't know that I want to be.
It's just probably because they don't understand the neurology behind it yet. Once they do, then it's science.
Yes.
But for now, it's not.
Do you think we'll ever understand all that stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Some maybe.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everything, centuries ago was spiritual or magic until we understood it. And then once we understood it, now it's science. Even if it was true before, we just didn't understand it, so we called it something else.
But it's still spiritual. Right? Like what we're talking about, right? That we're saying is very woo-woo, is like you're talking about really spiritual stuff. Like meaning and like purpose, like all that is really spiritual stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I just meant like you write it off as
Oh,
some
of
type
course.
thing. But yeah, it is all very spiritual. How would you
Oh, I love we're switching roles. This is great.
how would you describe the spiritual component of like a person? Like, because it's not really just like your body.
No, I would
It's
say
not-
it's energy.
Energy. Okay.
Yeah. That's a really like lame one word definition, but that's how I describe it.
I mean, I don't know what that feels like. Correct? Like that would make
I mean,
sense.
it doesn't. It can be right for you. It doesn't have to be right for everybody. But like, so I have also been taught. Like we were talking earlier off camera about. You're talking about the couples therapy and how they get recorded in the waiting room. So I've been taught by a lot of art therapists of like, the second somebody walks into the space, like everything is energy and data and information, right? Like it's all. They talk about it as like a big theater production, like not in that it's fake, but like it's all to tell you something, like how they are when they come in your office, like what they, because you're like reading their energy, you know, are they like slumped over, are they, right? Like what we don't say is as much important as what we do say. But I think if you're just seeing somebody who's really rooted in talk therapy, they're not necessarily as interested in that stuff, right? Like when I ask a certain question, somebody's like, you know, or like certain, you know, even when I said something, you're like your body, even you were like, oh, that resonated when you said that. And I was like, yeah, because you like were feeling his energy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's true.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's like doesn't have to be therapist to client. That's just like in the way in which we live in the world. Like, and if we were all connected somatically, like we are connected to each other regardless, but if we were like intentionally like aware of that stuff, we're gonna have a much better world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So, which feels like a kind of a nice place to wrap up, but I always like to ask a final question. Maybe if our listeners were planning on sitting on the other side of the couch, what is something that they should look for in their work or their therapist?
There's going to be a long pause here.
Yes.
No, I love that.
So
Yeah.
let me think intentionally about
Like
this.
maybe a question for a therapist, or even we had talked earlier about being at a pause point and having to have a hard conversation. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe even just a takeaway from our conversation for everybody.
Yeah, I think when I was interviewing my therapist initially, one of the things that I realized about myself is that I'm a very high masking individual, that I can pretend that things are good and fine. And my question to her was like, I need you to call me on my bullshit. Like, I need you to see through this mask, and like, how would you go about doing that? I know that that's more of like an extreme, because I had gone from talk therapy to this different kind of therapy, and I had noticed that about myself in talk therapy, is that I was masking a lot, and that I don't think I was getting what I needed to get out of it because I was getting my own way, and so I needed help getting out of my own way. And so how can you help me get out of my own way, kind of thing.
So you like set the expectation and then asked how she would do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then if she did it, then she also grew trust with you.
Yes, and she responded, very well to that and stuff. And she is, I do see a neurodivergent counselor, and I also am neurodivergent. So there was so much, like if you're neurodivergent, it would be so helpful to see a neurodivergent counselor, because there's so much that I don't have to explain, like this backstory or like why I would react a certain way, like that maybe isn't like pathological. It just is more of like biological.
And we as therapists are human, so I will also tell you there are so many neurodivergent therapists that will also tell you they're neurodivergent. Because I think sometimes people are like, well, can I ask my therapist that?
Right.
Well, yeah.
100%. Right.
Like you can ask them.
So that was a big deal for me. I wanted to see somebody who was neurodivergent because I hadn't yet, and that did make a huge difference for me too.
Okay.
So
I'd echo that. I diagnosed with ADHD, and my counselor is ADHD.
Okay.
It is so helpful for when I'm explaining something. I can be nonlinear and tangential and come back to the main point, and that makes it a lot easier for me to. I can start at the end instead of the beginning of something.
Right.
And it's just easier for her to follow my train of thought. What I didn't know I wanted, I found out later in a therapist, because I was just looking for somebody that did internal family systems and somatic therapy, and I could afford, and who had an opening. Like, it was.
There's a lot of
You
things
know?
that go into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes we get stuck with what we get stuck with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really fortunate with who I ended up with. But I would want to make sure that my therapist would be comfortable with periods of silence. Because then I'm not going to feel pressure to fill the
Yes.
space with talking or something. And she has really taught me how comfortable silence can be,
Mhm.
which I didn't feel that way before. So I think it's important to know that, like, it's not my job to fill up my time with my
And it's also
counselor.
not your therapist's job to do it either. Like, they shouldn't also just be
Oh
filling,
yeah,
right? I talk a lot with my
Good point.
therapists about that. Starter therapists, love them, but they feel like they need to like fill the void
yeah,
instead of just like, we can stay here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you get to be present with something
Mhm.
for longer, because you're not moving on or just talking about it more, and that's
Right.
really nice.
Right. Which is also how you extrapolate the deeper stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I love that. Well, thank you both
Yeah,
for
thank you
joining
for
us.
having us.
Yes, thank
We
you
got
very
lots of
much.
things to link on the show notes. So,
Yes.
Brian, you're going to have to send me a list, but I love that. Yay. Thank you all. Stay tuned. We're going to have both of them back individually to share a little bit more about some alternative topics. Maybe that's not the
Yes.
phrase that I
Yeah.
should use, but, right? Like, I feel like we're going to talk about divorce at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the trauma
We're
behind
gonna talk
why we need to go
about
to therapy.
the big D and the little D. No pun intended.
Yeah,
And I'm just gonna say cults. We're gonna talk about
Sure.
cults.
Yeah. That works.
It's so
He's
awesome.
excited.
Thank you. Oh, crushing it.